You ever had your power go out? It sucks. It's a pain in the neck, especially if you live in one of those modern houses where everything's electric. You can't run the microwave, you can't run your cook stove. Hell, even if you got a gas cook stove, most of those have electronic controls. So basically, unless you're an avid camper and you've got a little two burner Coleman or something sitting around, you're kind of screwed. I'm going to show you how to fix that. So this one's going to have some components to it, but it's all stuff you shouldn't have any trouble scrounging up in your house or even rooting through the neighbor's garbage if you're into that raccoon kind of stuff. All right. You need a metal coffee can, a couple of decent size regular tin cans. These are from some nasty collard greens. Those things are disgusting. The can's the perfect size though, and the collard greens didn't go to waste. They got put in the compost. And a couple of different fuel sources. First thing, the coffee can builds your burner itself. So we're going to start off with showing you how to do that, because you got to make sure it's got enough airflow and you got enough places for the heat to exit to do the different things that you want it to do. What I'm going to show you how to make today, one works really good as a heater, but isn't really that great as a cooker. The other one works great as a cooker. So I'm going to move you over to my workstation and show you how to start building this stuff. We're going to start off nice and easy. You need, this can is going to be both a cooker and a heater. So first thing we got to do is we got to make some vent holes in the top. Now I'm just using like a 7/16 drill bit in the old Ryobi, but you don't have to have a drill and a bit or anything like that. You can use a good heavy duty fixed blade knife if you have to. I'm just going this route because I've got all this stuff handy and it'll make it go a little bit quicker. Also less likely to cut a finger off. So I'm just keeping steady pressure on. I've actually got my bit running backwards so that my hole doesn't wind up all jagged and stuff. Here we go. There. See, we got a nice pretty hole there in the center. All right, and no gnarly, gonna cut your fingers off edges poking up. So I'm gonna finish off the top and then I'll be back to show you what happens next. Alrighty, so these are, you okay? Katie the camera girl's trying to eat shit. Okay, so we've got our top vent holes cut. Now if you're using this as a cooker, this is where your heat's going to come off, and then this is going to be where you want to place your pan. I've got 9 holes drilled up here because I've found that 9 lets good amount of heat flow through the top of the can. Alright, now we need some vent holes going down the sides and on the bottom so that it'll be able to draw enough air for whatever you're using as a heat source to actually be able to burn. Back to the drill. We're going forward this time because I discovered that trying to be all neat and pretty and stuff was irritating my, well, I'm nursing a messed up rotator cuff, so can't really make a lot of downward force. So, gonna drill one right here. There's my first bottom vent hole. Gonna go about that far. Not quite 2 inches, I want to say. And another one. And I'm just going to eyeball the spacing the rest of the way around the bottom of this thing. I'll show you what it looks like after I get it done. Okay, so when you're done with all your fabrication work, you should wind up with something like that. A whole bunch of draw holes at the bottom so that it can pull air in. And a bunch of holes, I see you, on the top to make a good cooking surface and venting surface if you're using this as a heater. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to whip up a couple of simple little heat sources that you can use to run this sucker off of. You're going to love this. One comes out of the pantry, the other comes out of the bathroom. Alright, so this first one doesn't work that well as a cooker because it doesn't get very hot. However, it'll burn forever, and the actual fuel source it uses is dirt cheap, and you probably already have it in your pantry. It's a Crisco candle, just with 4 wicks. So we'll go ahead and light her up.
I don't know if I can stand like this.
Get our wicks lit.
Beep.
Ignore that.
Don't ignore that. That was the sound of a bong going off.
Right. Okay. If you look, my wicks aren't even evenly spaced. As a matter of fact,
They can't see that.
Yeah, I guess not. So, still can't see it. Okay. You can kind of sort of see that the wicks aren't evenly spaced. I threw this together in like 5 minutes. It literally took longer to get the Crisco into the can than it did to put the wicks in. So, now that we've got it lit and burning, we just put our coffee can cover over it. And this isn't going to be the most accurate thing in the world. I'll shoot it a few times with my handy dandy little Harbor Freight Special infrared gun here. And you'll know it's not going to be the most accurate in the world. As a matter of fact, it's probably barely going to register a temperature over 100 degrees. But after I let this burn for a couple of minutes, I'll throw something on there that'll give you a better idea of what you can expect for heat output.
We're starting out at
About 105.
Alright, we will come back with a better temperature in a couple of minutes.
Okay, so now that I got her rocking and rolling, this is the best way I've found to utilize this setup with the Crisco candle. You just need, it does require a little bit of pre-planning because you got to have one of these little heat-powered wood stove fans handy. But I honestly think a person, if they had like a small battery-operated fan or something, could probably get away with this. You just would want to make sure that you weren't moving too much air at once. So, as far as heat output, yeah, I'm getting heat off of this thing up into the mid-80s. And I'll tell you right now, I'm standing right in front of it. I can actually feel heat coming off of it and pushing towards me. So, scale of 1 to 10, it's not going to heat your whole house. But, like, if you're trying to create a warming room, just someplace where you can keep it warm in there just to go in and get some relief from the cold, this would totally do it. Only downside is, you do get a bit of a smell of burning Crisco. That's the only problem I've found with it, and I haven't been able to figure out a way to make that go away. So, you're not going to cook on this, though, unfortunately. I've tried, and I gave up when I was at half an hour, and it had only got a pot of water up to 100 degrees. And you know what, just for the hell of it, since I turned around and saw it sitting right there, I got this little sugar cookie scented regular candle. We're going to go ahead and toss that under our little can heater cooker thing, put the fan back up on there, and see if it'll keep putting out heat. Okay, so our little fan still hadn't completely cooled off and quit turning yet from the Crisco heater. So I'm going to give it a few minutes and see if it keeps turning or if it goes ahead and cools off and dies down. I can't remember the exact temperature at which the Peltier plate in these things quit making electricity to run the fan completely, but I know for them to really work well, your surface that you have them sitting on has to be at least over 100 degrees. So I'll give it a few minutes and I'll be back, and it'll either be worth the effort or it'll have been a complete waste of my time. So I am having a complete, well, I'll be damned moment. This thing has actually sped back up. I just shot it with the temperature gun, and I'm getting similar heat output to the Crisco heater. And, well, it's a sugar cookie scented candle, so it smells a lot better. Obviously, you're still going to want to be careful using this in an enclosed space because it is an open flame. you know, and it is consuming oxygen. So just bear that in mind. Don't be stupid. But let's see here. Yeah. Closer I get to the top of that can, the harder it is to leave my hand on it. So if you got a decent sized scented candle, that's viable too. At least for keeping warm. Never tried cooking on one. I don't think it'd work very well just because it doesn't seem like it's hot enough. So, moving right along, I'll show you how to make something now. You got to head up to the bathroom, grab a couple things, and I'll show you how to make something that you can actually cook with. Alrighty, so I just came back from the bathroom. I grabbed a roll of butt wipe. A couple years ago, this was more valuable than a dollar bill. And isopropyl rubbing alcohol. 91%. The good stuff. Yeah, it stings like hell if you got to put it on a wound or something, but you know it ain't going to get infected afterwards. So, move over to my work area here. Oh, one more thing you're going to need. An empty can. Size doesn't really matter. I find these bigger ones easier to work with, but that's just because I've got great big bare paws and sausage fingers, and nimbleness is not my strong suit. Okay, so you got your TP. You got your can. First thing you got to do, you got to get the roll out of the middle of the TP.
I'm better at that part.
Yeah, well, I can still get it done.
I'll get it done.
I got it.
I want to do it.
I'm done. There.
Rude.
So, your toilet paper is going to act as a wick. Okay? If you have some poking out the top of it like that, it really doesn't matter. It's not necessary, but it doesn't really hurt anything either. Next, you're going to squeeze your roll of toilet paper down into your can. If you're using a bigger can like this, try to make sure you're using one of those like double rolls of toilet paper. Otherwise, you have trouble getting everything to, well, you wind up with too much open space. And then, Katie recommends just unscrewing the cap from the alcohol. Don't drink this stuff either, it's poisonous. Don't drink any alcohol, actually. It's bad for you. You just want to soak that roll of TP. Let it absorb.
That's good.
And when you're done, your roll of toilet paper should feel damp on top. Now, remember I told you you can actually cook on this one. So it gets hot. You want to get everything flammable away. Alright? That's why I'm doing this on a sheet of aluminum. Okay? So,
right under pieces of wood.
We're going to light it. Look at that. Nice big flame. Put our cooker cover on it. And I think it's still going. Or did we go out? Yep. I was a little too...
Here, I'll do it. Just hold this.
No, I was just a little too quick.
No, I want to do it. I actually want to be in the video.
There we go. Alright.
Yeah,
Slowly
slow.
put your can cooker over it.
It's still going.
Okay. You can still see the flame shooting out the top a little bit. So, now, we're going to grab a small pot. And I'm going to fill it with water. And I'll be back when the water's boiling. Okay, so we've got that much water in our little pot. And we're starting out, whoa, it's already starting to heat up. So we started out at about 55 degrees. But you can see how fast the temperature is climbing. So I'm not going to stand here holding the camera. I'll just, I'll show you when it starts actually being hot water. Just to give you an idea, I've got the stopwatch running on my phone that I'm using as my face-on camera. That's where we're at on time. You can see we're starting to steam. And our water temperature is already over 100 degrees. Boiling point of water is 212. So let's see how long it takes to get there. Now, while we're waiting for that pot of water to come to a boil, there is something that I feel like I should make y'all aware of about this little can cooker thing. The first couple times you use it, you're going to be burning the coating off of the inside of your coffee can. Okay? I'm doing it in the house because it's cold outside and it's after dark. All right? So I would recommend myself, if you're going to make one of these, before you bring it in the house to use it as a heater or a cooker or anything like that, just take it outside and burn all the stink out of it first. You'll save yourself a lot of trouble and possibly a nasty headache. I've breathed in so much crap over the years that I'm not really concerned about it. And like I said, I've got a window open and a fan going that's sucking all the stink out of my kitchen. I'm comfortable doing stuff like this because I know what I'm doing. If you're not comfortable running something like this in the house, don't. Go cook outside on the porch or, patio, sidewalk, wherever you can get out of the rain. I just wanted to make y'all aware of that. Well, some would call that a boil, some would call it a hard simmer. I'll tell you right now, that's hot enough to make most water safe to drink, or fix yourself some hot food if, you make ramen or something with it. It's around 170 degrees, so don't put your fingers in it. And since I got a pot of hot water here, I'm going to use it to reconstitute some of my homemade dehydrated mushrooms, since KD wants spaghetti for dinner. So, yeah, hope you enjoy. So, as an addendum, and because I like being totally and completely honest about everything, I just blew the alcohol burner out, and a couple of things I overlooked. Should have took the label off the can, for one, and didn't quite have enough alcohol in it, so we started burning the top of the TP. This isn't a big deal. It's still completely usable. I just need to fill it back up with alcohol next time I use it. I definitely don't want to do it right now, though, because if I was to try and pour a flammable liquid in there at this point, I'd wind up with a bomb in my hand. So I'm gonna put the lid on this thing, snuff it out, set it outside where it's not causing a problem.